How did an aggressive mountain eagle dance from the Caucasus hijack a classic Chicago bass line to become the most unavoidable club track of 2026? To understand that, you have to look at the state of electronic music right now. Producers have spent the last few years recycling the same drops and the same loops. The scene stagnated, leaving DJs scrambling to find a sound that hasn't already been exploited 1,000 times over. That desperation forced a wave of extreme cross-pollination. We saw completely disparate styles colliding, Latin Afrobeats bleeding into classic grooves, or the moody synths of darkwave layered over tropical percussion. But the absolute peak of this trend is happening right now. It's the collision of 1980s American synthesizer hardware with a 1,000-year-old dagger dance from the borders of Azerbaijan and Dagestan. Producers took an ancient, combat-ready folk rhythm and dropped it straight onto a modern dance floor. This friction bypasses expectations, physically forcing crowds to move. Half of this track's DNA comes directly from 1980s Chicago. Back then, underground producers started injecting the lush, soulful sounds of jazz and disco into early electronic beats. The blueprint for this sound was laid out by Larry Heard, better known as Mr. Fingers. His early recordings gave electronic music a distinctly human pulse. That pulse requires mechanical precision. Deep house typically operates between 110 and 125 beats per minute, anchored by the rigid 4-to-the-floor kick drum of the Roland TR-909 rhythm enposer. Over that steady mechanical beat, producers layer soft synthesizer sounds, known as pads, using complex jazz-funk chord structures to create an ambient, spacious mix. This creates a predictable mathematical grid. It's a comforting, steady foundation that clubgoers rely on to lock into a groove. Now, strike away the synthesizers and travel to the sun-drenched mountains of the Caucasus. Here, the Lezgi ethnic group has maintained a fierce, highly kinetic musical tradition for centuries. Their signature performance is the Lezginka. It is a high-speed physical display where the male dancer imitates a soaring eagle, dropping sharply to his knees and leaping back up with concise, sharp strikes. The frantic pacing of those leaps is driven by acoustic instruments. The traditional wooden flute, or kfil, cuts through the air, while a tensioned rope drum called the daldam hammers out a relentless rhythm. This movement is rooted in the region's warrior history. You can see it in the traditional choka, the coat worn by dancers, which features pockets designed to hold individual rifle cartridges. The traditional dance serves as a rhythmic exercise in the same agility and speed required for mountain combat. When you combine these two styles, you create immediate rhythmic friction. The Lezginka relies on a fast, galloping 6/8 time signature. Drop that directly over Deep House's rigid 4/4 digital grid, and the beats intentionally collide, constantly pushing and pulling the tempo. This musical notation sheet for the Azerbaijan Lezgi dance shows exactly how that tension is built melodically. The Allegro moderato tempo marking demands a brisk pace, while the notes are rooted in the Lydian mode, a scale built on a major key but with a raised fourth note. This gives it a bright, aggressive edge that cuts straight through the smooth, ambient pads of Deep House. By wrapping a comforting 4/4 bass line around an aggressive 6/8 Lydian mode, producers create a mathematical trap. The brain is lulled by the familiar house beat, while the abrasive folk rhythm forces the body to react. The lyrics in the 2026 remix act as the connecting thread, placing ancestral mountain imagery into the context of the modern city. The lyrics contrast urban technology with historical combat, chanting, "City pulse and tribal beat, every move sharp like a blade, every step our fathers made." This fusion integrates contemporary urban life with ancient folklore, merging field recordings of mountain flutes with the pulse of a metropolitan club. For decades, this eagle dance was largely confined to historical memory and regional weddings in the North Caucasus. Now it commands the main stage at electronic music festivals worldwide. By reaching back to these 1,000-year-old rhythms, producers triggered a visceral reaction that modern club music had struggled to replicate. The 2026 revolution didn't just find a new sound, it successfully weaponized the past.